K.T.E. Put it all together, and what do you get? A wrestling podcast unlike any other. Hello, I'm the T, joined by my K today.
How we doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, Connor. Today is a beautiful day because the road to Wrestlemania is paved in gold.
Dude, after Monday night, ooh, boy, we're getting the match I had said last week. We were getting Jey versus Gunther at WrestleMania night one. Ooh, I'm so excited.
Now, they haven't announced that it's night one, but
I think we know it's going to be night one. You're not going to put Cody on night one. So I think for sure, Saturday night, Jey versus Gunther main event. And with the way things are going, I have a little feeling we're getting a stipulation added.
What?
Because of how bad these two are going to beat the crap out of each other the next 5 weeks, 8 weeks. Oh yeah, I think we're getting a stipulation.
Okay, that's not a bad idea to think about because Gunther has repeatedly antagonized him. It's just been 2 weeks in this build, if you will, but it's been way longer since Saturday Night Main Event. But with this build right here, he said, Jey, please don't pick me or I will make your life a living hell.
He tweeted out 10 weeks of hell as of last night. After that, he said he had this little video on Twitter going out. So I think we're going to get some sort of crazy stipulation added at Mania to end off night one of what's supposed to be one of the biggest WrestleManias in history. We thought last year was great. Dude, this year's card could be stacked.
With that being said, what stipulation would you put on it?
I'd probably just let them go for an hour, do an Iron Man match.
Yeah?
I'd pull the Iron Man card. I mean, if you want to show the underdog story, you gotta put some sort of stipulation on that, and that would be the perfect stipulation to show Jey is legit. Now, if it's just a basic one-on-one match, you kind of have to root for Gunther just because Gunther's kind of more impressive than Jey in one-on-one.
Sure.
But I think if you give it some sort of story like that, like Jey's the underdog, obviously he's going to be the underdog. Why not add the Iron Man match? And the most falls wins kind of thing.
To prove that he is the best between the two.
Yes.
Interesting. I was almost for sure that you were going to pick a weapons match because the amount of times that they've been beaten up on each other and as brutal as it may end up getting.
You know, they could throw in some sort of like Extreme Rules kind of match, but I honestly would prefer an Iron Man match. I just want one good long match between those two. This is put up or shut up for Jey at the moment because like we talked about a couple weeks ago, where do you go from here if Jey loses? You can't go anywhere else other than he gets the redemption arc. And we already pulled that with Cody. We can't do another redemption arc this soon. If it was a couple years down the line after Cody, maybe you could pull it. But the fact it's the year after Cody's redemption story, you can't pull that trigger right now. So that's why I think this should be a put up or shut up match for Jey. Iron Man. Straight up 60-minute brawl. Let them do what they want. It could even be an Extreme Rules Iron Man match for all I care. I just want a long battle between these two because this has just been 2 weeks. Gunther beat the crap out of him. Jey flew over the rope yesterday and took out everybody. So
I would think an hour might be too long. That's wishful thinking. If I'm being realistic, 30 minutes is acceptable. The last few Iron Man matches that they have done have been 30 minutes.
I could do the 30 minutes too, but I just want some sort of long match between them. I don't want it to be the night one of Mania and it be a 20-minute match. It's like that just kind of defeats the purpose of this rivalry that they've already started building. So I think we need at least half an hour. I would prefer the hour just because you haven't seen an hour long Iron Man match in a couple years since 2009.
It's been a long time.
So it'd be kind of nice to see that hour, but I'd be okay with like a half an hour.
You just want something that is fairly long and can showcase. It's bold. It's bold announcing this as the very first match of WrestleMania. I know that Jey won the Royal Rumble. I know that. I know that he's got top billing. But we've been in a situation multiple years over where the Royal Rumble winner isn't always treated as the main event of WrestleMania.
Right.
So it's conditioned us to not think of it as the event that it is, and more so the person that wins it.
Mm-hmm.
You think Drew, that's a night 2 guy.
Yep.
You think Cody, that's a night 2 guy. Brock, that's a night 2 guy. Edge, that's a night 2 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jey Uso, as of now, not a not 2 guy.
Right. Right. And that's why I think this needs to be one of those matches that you gotta give him that. Again, this is put up or shut up for Jey. I don't know where else you could go with the story. I don't know what other title matches you could give him for the world title. He's gonna drop back down to the main card or back to the tag division, with either Jimmy or somebody else. But this is a put up or shut up match for Jey.
And having an Iron Man or having a stipulation period would be a good way to help that out, help his cause to be considered a true main event guy. Because there's not to say that you couldn't go back to the tag division role for him in 5 years' time.
Right.
And maybe he doesn't have 5 years at the top. Maybe he's got 3. Maybe he's got 4. Maybe he's got 2. But if you want an extended run with Jey at the top, you need to stick this landing.
Yep.
And so far, what they've done, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, even this is the third night since he's won the Rumble. He's gotten an encore yeet 3 times. He's 3 for 3 on encores, okay? Give the man the world title.
And I like how they played it on Raw, too, because you thought he was going to have his normal yeet session. And Michael Cole's over here really towing the line on sexual references. He goes, I used to yeet a lot when I was younger.
Well, they're trying to play the R era again, but they're gonna stick to the PG-ish friendly. Obviously, we've gotten more blood in the last couple of months than we have
which we'll talk a little bit about that on Raw.
But
for Raw specifically in the Jey Uso storyline that we're talking about, it's just been 3 nights. The crowd's really responded well, and they have done the best they possibly could on capitalizing over that surprise winner at the Rumble. And they've made Jey feel like a star to the fact where they don't always announce the WrestleMania match this early.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that this is the first WrestleMania match that they're going to be promoting for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Normally it's after Elimination Chamber when everything's kind of crystal clear, but they're going straight for Jey versus Gunther. And I kind of felt like they were going to do that. Listen to that press conference. When Jey was like, man, I'm going after that World Heavyweight Championship. It's like he straight up said World Heavyweight title. Had he said, I'm going for the championship, one of the championships, or had he said some sort of, I'm going for the main event. I'm going to be the main event at WrestleMania. Don't know who I'm going to pick yet, but we'll get there. But he straight up called out Gunther, in my opinion. So
he called him out, but he also had the background of, maybe I might do Cody. But he always was referring to the top championship as the World Heavyweight Championship. So therefore, to me, it looked like he was thinking, well, that's the title I'm going for implicitly.
And, I mean, it just makes better sense for him to be on Raw. I think the reason why it's doing well on Netflix so far is because of how hyped everything's getting at the start of the show because Jey. So I think it makes perfect sense for him to go after Gunther.
Reward the work he's gotten.
Yep.
And he's gotten so far to where so many times before, Saturday night's main event, to be specific, was that time where you had him fail.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania is the time where you have him triumph. This whole road to WrestleMania that you got, what you need to do is try to build that seeds of doubt in there. Can Jey do it? Is it possible? Is Gunther just too good of a wrestler?
Right.
But you've already had him fail multiple times, singles gold over and over. Jey's put the work in. Let him feel like he's a main event star. And I know this is his first big opportunity on a big stage like that, but it's not his first world title.
Right. And
match.
It kind of brings in the perspective of previous guys who have had the underdog story. Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan. It's like, we never thought those guys were going to be main event world champions. We never thought they were going to get that chance. Daniel was getting screwed left and right. It's where he finally got the match at Mania. He beat Triple H, went on to win the world championship. And then you have Kofi, a guy who's been a mid-card guy for 11 years at this point. Technically, he wasn't even supposed to be in that Elimination Chamber match. I think it was supposed to be Ali.
Yeah.
But then Kofi gets inserted, and then all of a sudden, people are like, oh, Kofi. He made it to the Elimination Chamber. It's like, we want Kofi kind of thing. And then Kofi Mania kicks off. So it's like, you've seen it before. I just hope they pull the trigger like they did with Kofi and with Daniel. I hope they don't screw it up because, again, where do you go with Jey if he loses? And that's the downfall of it. And he's one of the hottest stars right now. You can't let that go. Like that momentum can't die right now.
There's only so much that you can do of a babyface in peril or a babyface in doubt. And I am not saying that Jey can't do that continually, but you don't want his story, like you alluded to, you don't want his story to feel very similar to Cody.
No.
Oh, he lost, and now he's got to grit back up and get through it all. No, his grit has been this entire run getting to this point.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason he has to be the guy that just keeps failing and failing and failing. He learned from his mistakes at Saturday night's main event. He won the Rumble, albeit one of the most stacked Rumbles in the Rumble history, won that. No reason why he can't go to WrestleMania after suffering a huge long build and just win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to put it, man. I hope we get some sort of stipulation match added. But I think the next 10 weeks we're going to see a lot of crap between those two. And
Yeah.
I'm on board for it.
You'll hear it right here. Just a few weeks ago, I know we talked about this last week, but I do want to reiterate. Just a few weeks ago, I was not on board with the Jey Uso train. They turned me around, so kudos WWE. I will give you your first props on the road to WrestleMania. You did it. You're doing things right.
And it's very hard. We're lifelong fans. If you guys have watched the first episode, we told you kind of how long we watched. It's hard to get us on board as quick as they do.
Yeah.
This is probably the quickest I've ever, because even with Kofi, I wasn't quite on board with it yet until a couple weeks before Mania.
That's funny that you say that. I was not on Daniel Bryan's side at WrestleMania 30. I was rooting for
You were
Orton.
Michael Cole. You were like Michael Cole when Daniel Bryan was before, like when he won the World
He's such a
Heavyweight.
nerd.
Yeah.
I was the WWE lifer who was rooting for Randy Orton. So if you want to come at me, come at me.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I wasn't on board with Kofi for the longest time. It just made no sense. But then you kind of got the underdog. You're like, okay, it makes sense. Kind of like the Rockies, the underdog. But
Did Elimination Chamber change your mind?
a little bit. But then hearing the New Day's promo about Kofi just kind of changed. Like, oh man, I didn't realize he's been here for as long as he has. He's never had a world championship match other than the Elimination Chamber at this point. It's like, why is he not getting that? And then Vince kept screwing him. It's like, hold up, like hold on, like let this guy do it. But
It's crazy too, and I won't spend too long on it because it's a little bit off what we're talking about. But at one point, that was the case for Drew McIntyre before he won the 2020 Royal Rumble. As far as I know, he had never had a world title match in his career up to that point. His first world title match, he won at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, comments, but I believe 2020 when Drew beat Brock, that was his first world title match.
I believe so.
Which, when you put it into context, stars like that who have been around for a while, Drew and Kofi, you think, really?
Yeah. It just blows your mind. But like I said, it just shows how quick we can jump on the train. Because, like I said,
When you get behind a star,
Yeah.
when you build his momentum, we'll come with you.
right, and you see it every Monday. Like, you gotta go with the crowd. The crowd is hyped. It's like, oh, I can get into that. Like, I could be going yeet, yeet on Monday nights, but
Yeah, I think I can safely say here that I'm excited to see what Jey Uso versus Gunther is going to look like. And we've got all this time to build a lovely feud, something that'll keep us interested for weeks on end. I hope they don't coast. I really don't, because some of the best Road to WrestleManias have been built on blood feuds like this.
yep, I 100% agree.
And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. We posed last week what was your favorite road to WrestleMania or moments during the road to WrestleMania that significantly stick out to you? And Connor, I will ask that question first. Please tell us in the presence of the new released Good Brothers. Tell us, favorite road to WrestleManias.
One of my favorite within the past probably 10 years was John Cena versus The Undertaker. I understand it was a squash match, and people are like, oh, that match was horrible. That match was horrible, blah, 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 blah. If you watch The Undertaker's Last Ride documentary, he came out and told us he had prepared for like a 45-minute match. He was ready to go. John Cena came up with the idea of it being a 5-minute squash match. And Undertaker's like, huh? Like, this is supposed to be one of like the biggest match between us and our careers. And John's like, dude, I talked crap about you for 4 weeks. Like, I lost Elimination Chamber and I called you out and I kept calling you out. And I talked about your wife and I beat your brother. It's like, I beat the crap. I pretty much talked smack about your whole family. You deserve to beat the crap out of me. So, within recent memories, the Cena Taker feud we got at Mania, even though it wasn't that long of a match, because it may have been 5 minutes at most, whatever it was, I think that was probably my favorite within the last couple years. Just because Cena was talking so much smack, get squashed, and it's like, yeah, we're disappointed, but then you hear the backstory of it, it's like, oh, it makes total sense now. It's like...
But it still didn't stop us from being angry.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still upset that match wasn't longer because, like I said, you have a guy in The Undertaker who's probably one of his, if not his last Mania. Obviously, he went against AJ and 2020, but in the graveyard match or whatever.
But that was his second to last match, his penultimate match.
Right. But if you have him on his last WrestleMania card, obviously we didn't know COVID was going to happen. But his last WrestleMania match in front of fans, that match should have gone on 20 minutes tops. Like, those two should have beat the crap out of each other.
If Taker can do it, if he was preparing to do it,
right.
like he said.
And I had seen months and months before, WrestleMania against Roman, Taker did not look good at all. That man looked beat down. Against Cena, Taker looked like he was in good shape, so it kind of made sense to why. Oh, I was expecting this brawl, and I'm like, really? We had waited for this match our whole lives,
yeah,
and that's what we get.
I was certainly disappointed because they were hyping it up all this time, and I thought, oh, really? This is the storyline we're gonna get. I didn't even make two bones about it when I saw Cena in the crowd. I thought, if you use WWE logic, Cena's in the crowd. He's not really ready for the match. He barely has time to get ready for the match. So, of course, he would get squashed because, he's been drinking. He hasn't been ready.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. It does. But unfortunately, it leaves us as fans as disappointing match-wise, but cool moment-wise.
Yeah. So
it's pretty fitting that it was in front of the Undertaker title today that you said that story.
What would be yours?
Mine, I've got a few. We talk about good builds, disappointing moments, disappointing matches, and I didn't mean to make it this way in comparison with yours, but I'm thinking one of our favorite characters, heel Psycho Randy, in the McMahons. WrestleMania 25.
Oh.
That build where he punts Vince, punts Shane, punts Stephanie, and Triple H breaks into his home. Samantha, get the door!
Yeah.
Beats him half to death on this lawn. You get some of the iconic memes with Triple H and his sledgehammer in his jacket. I absolutely love that Road to WrestleMania build. That's one of my favorites. It got you so hyped for a knockdown, drag-out brawl, and you thought, oh, this is going to be a no DQ match. It's going to be so wild, so crazy, and then WWE last minute puts a stipulation and says, yeah, but Triple H, if you get DQ'd, you're losing the championship. I get it. They want to be, we're so creative. If he gets DQ'd, he's got to keep his anger in check. That's not why I tuned in for this story. I tuned in because these guys want to murder each other.
Yeah.
Not because I want Charles Robinson to say, hey, whoa, Hunter, you're beating him up too hard. So That aggravated me quite a bit. But the storyline going into that match, I was so gripped. And we've talked about at length, and you could probably see videos all over YouTube about 2009 Randy Orton. One of my favorite heel runs ever.
It has to be one of the greatest heel runs ever. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Bald Randy Orton coming out.
Yeah, by the end of the year, he ends up shaving his all head, and the rivalry with Cena that he ends up having by the end of the year. One can be said about the quality of the matches, not to say that Randy Orton isn't a good performer or the people he wrestled with aren't good performers, but during that time frame, some of his matches with Cena weren't always great, but the character work was excellent. And I'm of the mind, and I'd imagine you'd agree with me, if you can give me a good story, the matches can just be okay.
I would agree with that. I mean, you also have to look at another story, Cena Wyatt, WrestleMania 30. I mean, that built up was only 4 weeks from Elimination Chamber till Mania. Then you had matches after Mania, but that's the one that kind of angered me. I think that was the wrong winner. That
I would agree.
at some point in our podcast, we'll look back at matches that had the wrong winners. Because that one was one of the wrong ones. I think 100% Bray had the momentum. Yeah, John Cena is John Cena, but Bray needed that. Every time Bray has done almost anything in his career, he's kind of gotten screwed.
Yes.
And obviously, R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. But, I mean, Cena didn't need to win that match. Obviously, Bray didn't need to lose the Universal title at Mania or at Crown Jewel to Goldberg. But
yeah, a little bit further on, yeah.
Right. But so you have to also look at those kind of stipulations too, because with the Orton and Triple H one, that was the wrong winner in my opinion. I think, yeah, okay, Triple H is on a tear trying to beat the crap out of Randy. But I'm a big believer in previous times, because now you had Royal Rumble winners that don't deserve to win. Obviously, we'll go back to Jey later, but Randy was at the peak. We needed a heel champion. Yeah, okay, Backlash, they did the tag team match, and if whoever got the pin, Triple H or Randy were going to be champion, which made no sense. But
yeah, I've always thought that was weird. Not to cut you off, but the people, because there's been a few times over history where that's happened, where the Mania title holder defends successfully, and then Backlash the next month, the Royal Rumble winner or the guy who's challenging for the title wins it anyway.
Right. It's like, why are we doing that to where, why don't we just let the Royal Rumble winner win the championship? Now it kind of makes it too obvious. So it's like, okay, every year it's like, oh, Royal Rumble winner. All right, well, we know who's going to win, because obviously Cena came back. Cena won Royal Rumble. Lost at Mania, which I think that was one of the first times in a long time that the Royal Rumble winner didn't win a Mania. So, well, technically he used his match at Elimination Chamber, but
there's a bunch of whole loops.
And then you also have to look at it this way. You had to realize that match was as great as it was. They just went on right after Taker and Shawn won.
Of course, yeah.
And that's also another problem, because the Royal Rumble winner's supposed to get the main event, but looking back on it, I would have 100% put Shawn versus Taker at the main event.
We say that with retro thoughts, but I disagree, because, yes, that's a really good story, but they didn't have a whole lot of build to that match. Orton, Triple H, that was the story going into Mania. It was. They weren't always connected. It wasn't always him and Triple H, but by proxy of the McMahon feud that Orton had in early January going on forward, Triple H inserted himself because now he's the WWE champion, but also has to feel like he has to step up for his family's honor. That was the storyline. Putting that match on last made sense to me at the time. We look back at it and we think, well, if you're going to have this dud of a match, if you're going to have this stipulation, why would you put that on last? But they rectified it in also one of my favorite stories in Road to WrestleMania that they've ever done, and that's Taker Michaels 2.
Oh, yeah. That one, ooh.
A couple weeks ago, we watched the 2010 Royal Rumble, and I told Connor one of my favorite Rumble moments ever is Shawn Michaels getting knocked off the edge of the apron, and he's fingertips away from the ropes.
He's got like that slow motion.
He's like,
It's like he's falling down off a skyscraper kind of moments in a movie, but
yeah, and they reiterate that in the video package, which is a great video package. Running up that hill does a good cover if you're ever interested in watching it. But that build to WrestleMania, hearing lines like, "If I can't beat you, Taker, I have no career."
yep, it's like ooh, chills because Shawn Michaels obviously one of the greatest, like hands down. But man, to say you have no career and you're in the midst of a tag team title run you've never had with Triple H before.
You DX,
And
yeah.
it's like, and you guys finally are tag team champions, but you're so focused on that. I mean, but that.
You know what's crazy? Not to go too far off, but that run that he had with Taker, 1 and 2, is sandwiched in with a DX run in 2009.
Yeah.
The same run where he super kicks that little girl in the kitchen where he's a chef. That's crazy to think about.
I gotta cook the burger. I can't. You don't want to eat raw meat.
It's just crazy to think about. You have 2 of the greatest Mania matches of all time, and sandwiched in between that is probably a half-assed DX run.
But then it also culminates into 2 other good matches. Triple H Taker.
Yeah, 27 and 28.
It's not saying those aren't. Obviously the rumors were it wasn't even supposed to be Taker Shawn at Mania 26. It was supposed to be Shawn versus The Miz and Drew versus Taker.
Really?
That's what I was hearing. That's videos and stuff I've seen recently.
Okay.
Is for some reason it was going to be Shawn versus Miz and Drew versus, because Drew was the chosen one at that point. So him versus Taker kind of made sense. But then even 25 wasn't supposed to happen because everybody was thinking Kozlov was going to be against Taker. Because Kozlov was this Russian and beats the crap out of Taker every week. And he beat Taker in one of the main events on Friday night. So
And during the Elimination Chamber that year, No Way Out, he got eliminated. Kozlov did by The Undertaker, last ride.
right. So it's like there's so many stories we almost didn't get. But I don't know what would have happened with 27, 28. Obviously Punk 29. But I don't know what would have happened with those.
I know. Go ahead,
those
sorry.
4 years of Undertaker WrestleMania matches, I don't know a better 4-year WrestleMania run. And I can't think of one. It's just hard for me to think of one. Maybe Roman. I don't know. You started it against Brock. You had Edge, Bryan, Roman, then Roman Brock, Roman Cody. That's a okay 4-year run, but I think the Taker 4-year WrestleMania run, that's got to be one of the best in history.
I would say Roman hit 3 out of the 4 of those out of the park. The Brock match, he has had better Brock matches, and he's had better Brock matches at WrestleMania. Yes, he has.
WrestleMania 31 would probably be the only one.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
that's
as
the
long as
only
you weren't
one,
talking
but-
about 34, because that one, oh god, that was bad.
No.
Vince
WrestleMania 31 was a good match between them two, and that was better than their WrestleMania 38.
Yeah.
So I think that 3 years was good outside of 2022. However, the 4-year run of the Taker from 2009 to 2012 was better.
Oh, yeah.
I would agree with that. But I'm glad you said that. I wasn't considering Roman's run in that.
Yeah, because I mean that's the I don't know. Okay, maybe John had a 4-year kind of span as kind of the top guy, but
That would be very interesting to see. Look at people's years span,
we're
year
gonna
on span.
If you guys want to put some stuff in comments, please, we'll look at them and look. We may do some research ourselves, but I think within the history of the 4-year history run, I can't think of anybody else but Taker being that number 1 spot. just because he had 4 classic matches with 2 of the greatest of all time.
And I would argue that extends over to Punk.
Yeah.
His 2013 Punk match. Arguably, I say arguably, but I would confidently say that was the best match on that show.
Yes. I would agree with that because that was such an card. And yeah, okay, they put Cena Rock too, and that was twice in a lifetime. But if you look at Punk, he was one of the hottest stars in the moment. WWE forced the title off of him, and yeah, now I have to put him against Taker, which he put on a fantastic match.
Oh, great match.
And okay, yeah, twice in a lifetime makes sense to be the main event, but again, looking back at WrestleMania 25, Punk Taker should have been the main event that night. But
well, yeah, the 29 is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You look back at 25.
Right.
We talked about as we said that
425 with Taker's Michael.
Right.
You look back now and you think that's the main event match,
Yeah.
but you have to look at it in context. I would argue, and this is the bad part about long-term booking, once you have a preset storyline, once something that happens, you can't change it. It hurts you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
WWE's been in a situation where they've had plans for the long term, and then once they've been forced to change it, they're so reluctant to do so, so they don't. And when they do, it becomes a legendary thing. I would argue, based on the fan reaction, the crowd reaction, Cena and Rock is a big match. It is. I would argue, from the start, you should have known that it was going to be a bad idea. But once you figured out the fan reaction was burnt out as such, add Punk. Make it a triple threat.
give him back his championship that he didn't need to lose, and give him his main event moment. Because I don't know why he never got his main event moment.
Yeah, to this day.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. It's CM Punk. You push your top stars. Like,
I think you could have done Punk Cena at the main event of WrestleMania 27.
yep.
I absolutely think you could have done that.
Yeah, because that was that Miz and
That was Miz
Cena?
Cena at the end of it. Yeah.
that was bad.
The unfortunate part is if you're going to build Rock Cena for the next year, you have to put in a position where The Rock gets involved. And CM Punk's not as much of a chump as The Miz is.
Well,
Sorry, love you, Mike, but
Well, then here you go. Here's a thought: Cena Punk 27, Rock intervenes, Punk wins, Rock Cena next year. CM Punk kind of throws a little twite in there.
and then the triple threat.
Triple threat at 29.
Oh, that could be good.
Imagine that storyline. It's like, ooh, that gives me goosebumps. If I could rewrite history, there's your 3 main events the next 3 years. But
And I'll say I would be on board for that.
because then you have 27 where Rock throws his nose in the business, and Punk's like, I didn't need you to win.
Yeah.
So Punk still wins. Going into 28, Cena Rock. Punk helps Rock win. Rock goes, I didn't need you to win. Sets up the triple threat match because Cena's like, I got screwed by both of you guys. So then they get the triple threat at Mania 29 for the WWE title. Yeah, you could keep Cena winning or whatever, but just giving Punk that main event match would have.
I would enjoy that a lot more. And who's to say maybe it would have kept Punk happier, but you play revisionist history at that point.
It's just the what ifs at this point that we live in.
But that's a small change I think you could live with.
Oh, 100%.
I think you could absolutely tweak that just a little bit and it work out just as well.
Right. And yeah, okay, it changes a little bit of WWE history, but I don't care. I'm fine with the history we've had, but looking back on it, there are so many things that I would have changed. I would have liked the WWE to have changed, but it's the what if game. What if Punk never left?
Right.
What if Daniel had a longer title run? Like, it's always the what if game.
But we look back at it, and us as fans, there's an error we can do in trying to change so much of history, but we look back at it, and we look at the small things that we could have done.
Right.
And that's when it feels a little more tangible, when all you've got to do is make one tweak.
Yep.
And it feels just that easy.
It's kind of like when they say don't mess up, if you go travel back in time, don't mess up anything, because you'll mess up.
Don't kill a butterfly.
Right.
Because
You'll mess up the space-time continuum. But I'll be okay with that. I mean, in
Like, if we
WWE,
get nuclear warheads just because CM Punk gets 2 WrestleMania main events, I think Connor's saying that's worth it.
I mean, if we get a nuclear bomb every once in a while, it's fine. Just make sure you're in your fridge.
Yeah. That's what they had to do in the 50s, right?
That's what I thought so. Or getting under the desk when your building is collapsing because that
Yeah.
helps.
Hey, those desks are nuclear warhead proof.
I
Don't
know,
you know?
Man, they'll protect me from a bomb.
But with that said, we'd still love to know your guys' favorite Road to WrestleMania moments. And throughout this whole time frame of the Road to WrestleMania, we'll be talking about favorite moments, favorite storylines, favorite people. I wanted that question out there for all of us of some of our favorite moments. Connor had a little bit of an off-beaten path, but one of the things I know we'll love to do is look at stories that were great in the Road to WrestleMania, the builds, but the matches weren't great. I can think of so many of those. Not just the one you said, but I could think of ones like Jericho and Owens. The match wasn't great.
No, the match wasn't great, but they also kind of got screwed because Vince McMahon decided, oh, hey, Goldberg, here's your Universal Championship, which ended a great run that was going on.
Correct. But they still had a good Road to WrestleMania build.
Right.
You have the Festival of Friendship there and there.
Right. Yeah, and it just it turned Kevin to the point where it's like, oh man, this guy's legit. Like he's there, and it sucks when WWE does that kind of stuff. Now you look, okay, bring up Goldberg. He didn't need that championship against Brock. He didn't. Brock does not need a championship when he comes back to WWE. I'm sorry, my personal opinion. He never needs a championship. The minute he gets in, it's like, here we go. We know what's gonna happen. We don't need it every single time. Goldberg and him had split it 1-1. Obviously, Brock at 20 or Goldberg at 20, or no, Goldberg was up 2-0 on him. Then eliminated him at Royal Rumble. That's a perfect setup for Brock Goldberg at Mania.
Yeah, no title needed.
No title needed. Give Kevin versus Jericho the championship match. You could even throw in the United States Championship match at the same time if you wanted.
You think winner take all?
Yeah, I mean, you could throw that match in there if you wanted to. Now, okay, you can have Jericho defend and Kevin cost him the championship. There you go. There's your Universal Championship match. But you got Vince was very prone at throwing curveballs at the last moment.
It's true.
Becky Lynch getting suspended. Charlotte versus Ronda, then triple threat.
Yeah, that was such a messy road to WrestleMania.
Exactly, which we'll talk about more another day. But you had a perfect setup with KO and Jericho, and I'm not the biggest Jericho fan. I used to love Jericho, but with the recent years, he's gone totally off the rails over there. But he had that great run where he'd bring out a clipboard, and if you talked bad about him, you were on the list. It's like he had one of the best runs of his career, and you screw it up because okay, yeah, he got hurt, but obviously it was kayfabe. He's not really hurt. WWE just has to write the story. But then you just had to throw KO and old man and it's whatever. But yeah, you had such a perfect build up to WrestleMania for those two, and I think that would have been it was a bad match. It didn't live up to the hype. Yeah, obviously things changed, but
yeah. We could look back at plenty of Road to WrestleMania builds, and I'd be interested to see all your guys' comments and thoughts. Message us on Twitter, comment us, repost us, retweet us. Let us know what you're thinking. This Road to WrestleMania is looking already pretty good.
Yep.
I'm liking where we're going.
Yep. Like I said, we got a little bit of a tease on SmackDown with Tiffany and Charlotte, so I'm excited to see if that's the way they're gonna go with it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk into the week at large. Well, I know we talked a little bit about Raw and Jey Uso. I think that's the biggest headline of this week at WWE is his Royal Rumble decision. As always will be when a Royal Rumble winner decides. But this week started off with SmackDown, And it started off with a couple of big releases before, during, and after the show.
You want to go ahead and talk about those releases? Because you're very, very he's very gung-ho on these releases.
So, these releases, some of them made sense. They did. There were a few people that got released who made sense to be released. Cedric Alexander wasn't doing a whole lot. He wasn't. And he was on NXT. He was showcased very little. Last time he was with Ashante the Adonis. He was also working with Javon Evans. He was in a mentor backstage kind of role. He made sense to let go because he might have been paid main roster money being in NXT. That's always, if TKO is looking at their contract, if Nick Khan's looking at contracts, guys who are in NXT on a main roster deal, always the first ones to go.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Plus, Cedric hasn't done anything of note for the last 2 to 3 years. Let him go to AEW. Go with the Hurt Business over there, or the Hurt Syndicate. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. Benjamin, Alexander, MVP, Lashley all reunited. And who knows, maybe a potential for Ricochet down the line.
Yeah.
Newly main event Ricochet.
The guy who can't cut a promo to save his life, Ricochet, yeah. Makes sense.
He's making improvements. You'd be surprised. He's not just flippy, happy-go-lucky Ricochet like he was in WWE. But
I saw a video before he did a promo before he ever was main star. He was, no.
With that said, Sonya Deville, surprising in the sense that she was just used at the Royal Rumble, but Sonya Deville has been on the roster for so long, we would have seen if she could do anything capable. And by herself in the ring, she's not someone that is a proven draw. She has to be attached with somebody. And Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, as far down as they've fallen on the card, they gave Sonya relevance. And Sonya was relegated nearly to the manager position at that point. Makes sense. With AOP, if you think that Cross can do what he was already doing without AOP, and you have no designs to put AOP in the tag division, they're not worth having on your roster because they can't cut a promo by themselves. They have to have a manager. Paul Ellering probably doesn't have any value by himself. I hate to say that because the guy cuts a great promo. He's very intense. He's someone who made the Authors of Pain work. 2 guys in NXT who all they were brutes. They had to let the smaller guys wrestle around them. But they worked as hired mercenary kind of people. They were doomsayers in NXT. We didn't really get a whole lot of their shtick in on Raw, but the whole way it worked was Paul Ellering always prophesized people's dooms, and that's usually what AOP would come into the ring. They'd clean house, and matches would end fairly quickly. Maybe that says more to the testament of the wrestling ability of AOP that matches had to go over quickly. But with that said, AOP doesn't have a whole lot of character value by themselves. You need to have Ellering in there. And if you don't have any plans for them as a tag team, you look at it as a group. Do they have any value to what Cross does? Do they make Cross any more menacing? If only slightly, you got to worry, how much is that value that they can provide? Is it worth what you're paying them?
Right.
And TKO decided no. So I understand that one. I get those releases. The ones that I'm a little more perplexed by is people like Blair Davenport. They called her up on SmackDown, and they gave her nothing to do.
Yeah. She was just at catering, I believe. It's like, why? Here's my problem. I saw a post about this the other day. Why are we calling people up if you don't have any plans for them? Leave them in NXT. Let them develop more until you finally see that they are main roster worthy.
And Blair Davenport was challenging for the NXT Women's Championship before she got called up. That's the whole reason she got called up in the first place, is because she was, at that point in time, a main event star in NXT. Whether she was ready or not, I don't know. I really don't. But she was making waves, and she was popular enough in NXT that warranted her getting called up. you have a women's mid-card division on SmackDown specifically, because as far as I remember, she's a SmackDown person.
I think she was supposed to be a SmackDown star.
You have a women's mid-card title who, through 3 matches, and at this point 2 months, we've not had any other feud than the original title feud.
Yeah.
You're telling me you can't find a place for a girl like Davenport?
Or, I don't know, you have an IC champion who hasn't touched that title match and since she won the dang thing. Because, she needs an Elimination Chamber match.
Is it bad? Is it bad that I already forgot
No.
their match last night?
No.
I hate to say that because Bailey's involved.
Yeah, I love Bailey, but no. I agree. It's like...
The only thing... You're getting me on a side tangent about Lyra Valkyria, but
I know.
The only thing that keeps her on the roster is because the crowd are invested in her music. Huh. If that is your biggest character development, is someone going, woo, during your theme song, get a grip. Second person eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
Ric Flair music. Woo! Yeah, everybody loved Ric Flair.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anyways, what's the last team you're a little upset about?
Well, okay, so I guess we'll get to that. There's other people that were released. Isla Dawn was released. Obviously, they didn't see her as a single star. I get that, because if you're not going to have them as a tag team, the women's tag division is a joke.
It's an NXT thing. I don't think it's a main roster thing anymore. I think the women's tag division is an NXT thing. You have more women down there that deserve it. The NXT, the women's tag titles can go to NXT. We can have the mid card titles. I'm fine with, because you have more mid card women who deserve to be in that section of where they're at.
Right, because even a lot of your tag teams in the women's division are now doing mid card feuds. Chelsea and Piper, B-Fab and Michin. That's a tag team feud right there. That's now for the women's United States Championship.
Which I kind of got a little heat on something, but we'll
get to that
later.
Yeah, with SmackDown's talk. But Giovanni Vinci, talk about someone who got a shaft in there.
Oh yeah, he kind of got screwed.
They tried to reboot his character from NXT, which was the suave Italian living guy. They tried to reboot that because in NXT it worked.
Right.
It worked before he got called up to Imperium, and then Imperium shoved him out because they're jerks apparently. And then they called him up. He got rolled up by Apollo Crews. Never seen again.
Yeah, that one made no sense. I mean, we'll just ask the 6-second man why they kicked him out of Imperium.
see what
Ludwig Kaiser has to say,
The 6-second man. I like that.
That's how long he was in the Rumble for.
Well, you're not wrong, yeah. I chose The Miz. Nobody picked Kaiser. But as Connor alluded to, yeah, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because you don't want to just hear Tyler rant. But they released, after a second time, they released Gallows and they released Anderson while Anderson was hurt.
It just doesn't make sense. Again, we asked the question also, why do they keep bringing these guys back if they're just going to release them again?
Right.
They released AOP once because they weren't doing anything. They come back, they weren't doing anything, get released again. Luke Gallows and Anderson were doing something.
Yeah. Got
released. Came back, were kind of doing something with AJ, but then one of them got hurt, and then now they're released again. It's like, why does WWE keep bringing these guys back to do nothing? If you want to bring somebody back, I don't know, bring Baron Corbin back.
Yeah.
That was one release I'm still kind of upset about.
That makes zero sense.
Because he was only, I don't know, he was only one of the top mid-card guys in WWE. He doesn't have to be a world champion. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
He was a mid-card IC United States champion all day.
I'm sorry. You put Baron Corbin, because he's mainly a heel guy, but I've listened to the interviews and I fully believe it because I was attending some of the show that he was on. The guy got reactions no matter what he did.
Right.
No matter if they were large, no matter if they were small, the guy always got reactions no matter what he did. We're talking about, I believe this, I'll say this, one of WWE's best heel characters over the past 10 years that they've created, because Baron Corbin, you go through all the gimmicks that he's had, he never had a problem getting people to boo him.
No.
I've talked to many people outside of just you and me. talk to Baron Corbin. Anytime I mention his name, people go like, "Oh, I hate that guy." Which, as a wrestling heel, that's your job,
right? But I mean, that one didn't make sense to me when they released him.
No.
In the first round of cuts back in whenever.
Yeah, way even sooner than even the most recent soon round, which was Duke Hudson got released before anybody else did, and then all of this happened. But I don't understand why WWE has the consistent thought process. If AJ's not around, there's nothing for Gallows and Andersons to do.
We have a tag team division that's weak on both sides. Because I'm sorry, you got the War Raiders as tag champions right now. You got JD and Finn splitting up here soon. You got Alpha Made and Alpha Academy, or American Made and Alpha Academy.
Yeah.
Who else do you have? If you have the War Raiders win last night, you had a perfect opportunity to have Gallows and Anderson beat the crap out of them, and there you go. You get a feud going. But
I told Elijah, I said, I don't understand. I personally would fund the matches that I am about to list. I would say War Raiders versus the Good Brothers. Mm-hmm. I'd watch that. I'd pay money to watch that. WWE, Venmo me. I'd pay you to put that match on. Gallows and Anderson versus the Street Profits. I'd pay to watch that. Machine Guns versus Gallows and Anderson.
Right. There's so many matches we could have gotten with these guys. But just because AJ was gone. I love AJ. I always have loved AJ since his time in TNA. I've loved AJ. I've said this before on the podcast. AJ is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Those two are so much more than AJ Styles. And for some reason, WWE doesn't see that, but they brought him back. It's like...
They brought him back to be with AJ, and then they were with AJ for a while. But WWE has a bad habit with those three of just making Gallows and Anderson their lackeys. And those guys, if you've watched any of their work outside of WWE, I'll say this statement out there. They are one of the best tag teams of the modern era.
Yep.
I will put that on there. And I don't understand how WWE can have nothing for one of the best tag teams of the modern era to do.
Yep. But they want to go ahead and, I don't know, bring back the Hardys again for the 20th fucking time. It's like, come on, y'all. Like, we've seen the Hardys enough. I love the Hardys. I love Jeff. I loved his singles run. I liked Matt's single run. Those guys are washed. I'm sorry. They're just washed. Jeff can't hit the Swanton bomb to save his life. But you know what? That's best for WWE. It's like, no, it's not. Okay, Gallows and Anderson, I agree with you on your statement. They are one of the best tag teams we've seen in such a long time. Even outside of WWE. Even in WWE, they were one of the tops. But you gotta just keep releasing them. It's like, hey, we're gonna re-sign you. All right, AJ's out. All right, contract gone. Out of here. See you later. It's like,
well, AJ's gone. You could put us in the tag division. Yeah, but AJ's just not here.
You know, I really think AJ's got to be here, man. Well, let's ask AJ. AJ, what would you do in this situation? I don't know. Put him in the tag division? Nah, I don't think so, AJ. We appreciate your advice, but
I saw something on social media on Twitter. It was AJ's reaction after hearing Gallows and Anderson got released, and it was it was Vince realizing that Stephanie had been kidnapped or taken somewhere, and he's like, "Let me at him! Let me at him! I'm gonna get him!" So it was mimicking the reaction of like AJ's pissed that his best friends had just got released again.
I don't get it. These round of cuts, some of them made sense, like you said. Those two didn't make sense.
No.
One of them was coming back from injury, which, again, I think that was also AOP's problem. They're these brute forces, but one of them was always hurt, and it's like
it's hard. It is hard to build a tag team when one of your other guys is hurt.
And I can say a little bit. I can understand why Gallows and Anderson got released because one of them was always hurt. It wasn't their fault. Things happen. It is what it is.
I think WWE looked at it like this: their situation with AJ, the fact that most of their character was built through the Bullet Club name, the club name, and without AJ being on the roster for literally half the year last year, 6 months, Gallows and Anderson were only doing things in NXT. Mm-hmm. That's what they were doing. They were the mentor tag team.
Right.
And I've heard efforts from different people because I looked in. I'm not always the rumor guy, but I looked in and I thought, well, why would they release them? I think they could do so much as far as mentoring the tag teams in NXT if that's really what you want to do. I think it worked out for them, but stories going around that maybe they didn't always put the most effort in. They're guys that probably got complacent in WWE, and it's hard to blame them because WWE never gave them anything. It was a two-way street because we could say the same thing about, well, how did they let go of Bobby Lashley? Somebody who you literally put on screen and the guy is believable.
Yeah.
He gets a crowd reaction. He gets character reaction. There's plenty of people WWE's released that just don't make sense, but WWE doesn't have a plan for it.
Yeah.
It's baffling to me, especially when you have someone like A-Town Down Under and Pretty Deadly, who are good characters, but not great wrestlers. These guys are good wrestlers and great characters.
It's because they've done it around the world in different companies. The guys you just mentioned, I don't think have gone outside of WWE. They're WWE made tag teams. You get teams from that would have been in Japan, TNA, AEW, wherever else, Ring of Honor. You bring those guys involved, they have to play the WWE role instead of the free-flowing indie scene. They kind of have to play the WWE game to where it's like, we kind of have to slow it down a little bit. We can't put too much into it because I don't know if you knew this, but have you ever seen the Great Khali wrestle outside of WWE?
You've shown me some clips.
Dude, that guy can move. For him being 7'12" or 8 feet tall and 300 pounds or whatever he is, that guy could move back in the day before he came to WWE. But WWE didn't want that. They didn't want a giant monster moving around. So that's why they made him a boring character. That's why he was the monster. It's like we didn't get the Great Khali from New Japan.
And by the time that he could have done that character anyway,
It was too late.
It was too late. Yeah, his body had deteriorated to where he couldn't be as athletic.
Right. And it's like, so he comes in being this giant monster, but if you look at guys outside of WWE, they move so much faster. Kevin Owens used to do the craziest of things. I'm not saying he doesn't do it now, but that guy used to drive guys through 3 tables doing a pile driver.
Kill, Steen, kill.
Right. And he's doing that. He's doing the pile driver in WWE, but he has to cut it back. And that's the sad part about it. John Cena's a WWE guy.
Sure.
He goes to TNA for some reason. He's not going to be able to do WWE stuff. He's got to pull the TNA side. He's not going to be able to do that. So he's stuck in WWE's mindset to where, I don't know, AJ Styles been outside of WWE. He can go back to TNA right now, put up a 30-minute match, be like and flow with TNA, and he'll be fine because he's been there. Anybody that's been strictly WWE hasn't been there. I'm not saying they aren't great. Randy Orton, John Cena, Edge before he went to AEW, Christian before he went to TNA. Those guys are WWE made. Jeff Hardy was WWE made, but over in TNA, they made him the top guy because he was the top guy at the moment. So he kind of did both WWE and TNA to where, like I said, WWE guys have to do it the WWE way. Gallows and Anderson don't know how to really do it the WWE way. They do, but maybe they were just like, we're kind of tired of the WWE way. So they just, maybe backstage, maybe behind the scenes, they were just like, you're fine, you're good. You messed up. Maybe they weren't caring enough.
And that's fair. You get to a point, and I can't speak for them. I can't speak for the WWE in their relations.
This is obviously just our opinion.
Yeah, outsider's perspective. You get to a point where you get complacent, and maybe that's what was happening. Because WWE didn't have a whole lot for them to do, and maybe Gallows and Anderson, they still want to be that top tag team, and if WWE doesn't have those designs for them, unfortunately, then they're not going to find success in there. Mm-hmm. If they're just relegated to being AJ's lackeys, like, I'm sorry, if I was with you and we were the Good Brothers and Elijah was AJ Styles. Let's just put that out there. And you and I were just stuck sitting behind him for 2 years. And yes, we were getting paid a lot to do nothing but sit on our butts because I'm sure they were one of the top paid talents, but they were just sitting on their butts doing nothing. I'm sure that's why they got released, as we talked about.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you and I wouldn't just be complacent with sitting on our butts and doing nothing.
It's kind of like if you're at a job for too long.
Yeah.
If you're at a job for, say, 5 years, you do the same job every single day. You get up at 8 o'clock, go to work, come home by 5. It's that everyday thing, Monday through Friday. Say that's what you do, Monday through Friday. I wish I got a Monday through Friday job, but anyways. But say that's your routine every day for 5 years. You get tired, and you want something different. You built up this reputation at your job of being a hard worker, and you get tired of it. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to kind of see what's out there. So you get on any of those websites, that ZipRecruiter, Indeed, those websites. It shows you're qualified to do X amount of jobs. You're like, oh, wait, there's other opportunities out there. And, oh, wait, they're paying $7 more than this job is. There's other opportunities out there. And that's another problem is like, obviously John Cena and Randy Orton aren't going anywhere. They've been in WWE for 20 years. They're not going anywhere. But you have guys like Edge who were there for so long. He's like, you know what? I want to try something different. So he hops over to AEW. Now, okay, he's called Cope now, but, he's doing something different, and I applaud him for that. Being as old as he is, I'm not saying old wrestlers can't do it.
Right.
Because you still have Jeff Jarrett out there swinging a guitar. But Edge took a leap at a different company. Is that company going to be around for much longer? I don't know. But he took the leap. Obviously, WWE will bring Edge back with open arms because he's one of the greatest of all times.
Yeah,
hands
if he
down.
ever wants to do anything again.
Right. He's got the open door. He can do one final year retirement. He can do a Cena year kind of thing. But he would be there every week. Obviously, Cena's the Hollywood kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you get tired at your job, so you try to do something else. And Gallows and Anderson are the guys, they're the broke boyfriends that go and bounce to bounce to bounce to bounce because they just can't find the same thing. It's like, I don't know why they don't work out in certain spots.
They've been on a vicious cycle the last few years of making their name, especially Gallows, right? He was in WWE, did what he did in WWE as Festus.
Biscuits and gravy.
Make me a man. With the Straight Edge Society, got released, went over, formed this relationship with Anderson and Gallows, became one of the best tag teams in New Japan, went out, extended their talents all over the world, made their name. AJ Styles came over, they became Bullet Club, forged a bond. Got signed by WWE because of that noteworthy talent and because they made a big name for themselves. Were in WWE, made their name for a couple years, made waves, kind of got complacent, petered out, rejoined back with AJ again, became a big name again, got paid, and then got released. So it always seems like they're on a vicious cycle of making their name outside of WWE, getting hired, getting paid, getting re-signed, and getting paid again, and then getting released. Making their name outside of WWE, getting paid, getting re-signed, getting released.
Yeah, it's a cycle that can't be broken.
So you're hearing it right now. 2028, we're gonna see Gallows and Anderson come back out. AJ's still not retired, and the cycle begins again.
Oh boy! Wow. I don't even want to think about that year yet.
Oh yeah. With that said, I am all the releases, but especially the Good Brothers. I'm excited if we can get an instance where they go to AEW or they go back to New Japan and they mix it up with the tag division over there. If they can get more use out of being elsewhere, I'm okay with that because there's a good list of people in WWE who have had that opportunity where they've been better outside of WWE, come back to WWE, do what they're going to do, have good matches, good storylines, maybe aren't the top guy, aren't pushed like such, and then they go back and they have better success. I think of Bobby Lashley, somebody who took forever in WWE to have great success.
Mm-hmm.
Took forever to become WWE champion. Not that he wasn't earmarked for success, not that he didn't have big storylines. You think of his early stuff with ECW, he was pushed hard.
Mm-hmm.
But his greatest success, I think, is in TNA.
Yeah. It just shows that, and this is why this whole merger is so important, but it just shows that WWE's not it. I mean, it's the end all be all, yes.
But you can have great success outside.
You can go anywhere else and have good success.
That's why I don't even know if Cardona's going to come back. Because he may not need it.
He doesn't need to. And that's the sad but awesome truth about it is he doesn't need to come back. Will he come back? Probably. Will they give him a Cody Rhodes kind of story? Maybe. But because look at Cody.
Right.
Cody went out, did his thing, and now he's the face of the company. I'm not saying Cardona can do that. I'm not saying he can't. But it's to be determined on that part because obviously he would like to go back. I mean, he kind of got he was one of those guys who wasn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's won 30 some titles since he's been gone. He had 30 around his waist at one point or whatever it was, but he can go out in other companies and the minute his music hits, everyone's like, "Oh my god, I know who it is." Matt Riddle. He's out there doing things that he wasn't going to do in WWE.
True.
So these guys are doing better outside of there. The real question is, do they come back and go with the corporate game, or do they stay out and do their own thing? So that's going to be to be determined on those kind of guys. But
there's something to be said about those who go and make their name outside of WWE. I don't always want to say that it's less corporate because there's always some corporate involved, but you have to have a little more grit.
Right.
And a little more edge when you're outside of WWE. WWE, they do have a hard schedule, and they're on the road all the time, but they like to keep things safe. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And presentable. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we love it.
That's why
it's a great product.
That's why we do this. That's why we are casual fans.
Well, no, I wouldn't say we're casual fans.
Well, I meant like consistent fans.
Oh,
I guess I should have said we're consistent fans.
Yeah, because of those things. But releases aside, let's get into your SmackDown lowdown.
Oh boy,
biggest thoughts that you have on the show.
I wish they'd clean up with the Charlotte stuff, and I'm sorry. Do we really need another Solo Sikoa title match? Hear me out. Rhodes gets put in the chamber match. Why not? Throw him in there. You remember how we used to have elimination chambers for the titles back in the day? Put him in there. He can win. He's not losing. Obviously, he can win. The following Friday, you have somebody come out. And then on SmackDown, Nick Aldis says, all right, we're going to have a triple threat match between X, Y, and Z. Winner faces Cody in Mania. Whether it be the final four, the three that were in the main event with Cody, or the last four in the match, whoever, you set that up. Because, okay, yeah, we just put Logan Paul in there for no reason whatsoever. Unless they're setting up a Cena Paul thing, and there's a whole many different avenues they're going to go with Mania, because that's why Road WrestleMania is so important, because we have so much going on. Obviously, we've got one match confirmed, Jey versus Gunther, 100%. We don't know what else the hell's going on at Mania, so throw a little sprinkle in there, throw Cody in there, let him do his thing. Because I don't want another Solo match. I don't. We don't need it. Solo, I'm sorry. I don't buy the character. I don't. I think, I don't know. I don't buy the character. WWE's going to do what they want with him. That's fine. They're going to give him another title match at the Chamber. That's fine. Whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Give me Jacob versus Solo at WrestleMania Saturday. I don't know. But So I'm kind of over the Solo stuff. I want a clear picture on what's going on with the women's championship match at Mania. I'm assuming we're gonna get a Charlotte because I'm assuming the Chamber's gonna go after Rhea. But we just also Rhea just also told Io she's getting a match the Monday after Elimination Chamber. It's like, really, really, the Monday after? What other matches are we putting on the Chamber?
Yeah, I'm not happy the fact that both women's championship matches won't be on the show.
I don't understand that.
One of them at least should be on the show.
Right. Or, I don't know, put Tiffany or Rhea in the Elimination Chamber if that's what we're going to do, but we're not going to do that. So, what are we doing with both women's world champions? I don't know.
And that'll be further exacerbated. I'm not stepping on your toes for SmackDown, but that would be further exacerbated by the fact if we have Cody versus Solo on the pay-per-view. I'm sorry, that's the wrong move.
Absolutely. Solo does not need to be in another match. I don't know why he's gotten 3 of them already. I don't understand it. I don't get the hype of Solo Sikoa. I don't. That's just my personal opinion. I'd much rather have Jacob. I'd much rather have Fatu go after Cody.
Agree. If we have Cody versus Fatu for a chamber, okay, we'll talk.
Why didn't you? Okay, if you want to pull that card, okay, yeah, Fatu was talking smack with whoever on SmackDown last week, or he was talking about Jey, him versus Jey, whatever. If you want to build Jacob as the superstar that he's gonna be, because I have a feeling they're gonna put him as one of the top guys here within the next year or two. Instant match after Cody's match. Maybe you throw a little Jacob smack because Jey versus Fatu was the match. You could have had Fatu come out, beat the crap out of Cody, and it's like, oh shit, not a Samoan spike from a guy who's bleach blonde hair and nobody cares about. But
we've also seen Rhodes versus Solo. We've already seen that before. That doesn't interest me.
no,
I want Cody to move on to new things. I do. And Solo being back after taking a hiatus, what storyline does that say when he comes back? What reasoning does he have? And WWE's got plans in place, I'm sure, and they've got time to change it. But as of now, this seems like the wrong move. Mm-hmm. Leaves me uninterested.
We're going to get more... I'm assuming we're getting more clarity on Friday. But it's...
The triple threat match does excite me.
Yeah.
Fatu versus Strowman versus Priest. That has sold me on SmackDown alone.
Yeah, because it's Damian Priest. And I've gained to like Damian Priest. At first, I was kind of like, I don't get it. I don't get it. He had a good world title reign, and I got it. I got it. It's kind of like you with Jey. Jey needed that moment. Damian had that moment, and he got screwed by Finn. But I'm excited for that match. I think that's going to go down as a brawl. I think Fatu and Strowman still have some issues to hammer out. So I think we're going to get a good match there on SmackDown.
You think their issues will end up superseding their importance of the match, and Priest might sneak out a win?
Possibly. I could see it. Because this one, is this a chamber match?
It is. It's a qualifier.
Yeah, they'll put Priest in there. I don't know why you would put Strowman in there. He hasn't been a main event kind of guy in a while. He hasn't been for a world title in a long time. So I don't see those two being involved or going to
the continuation of their rivalry can happen outside of the chamber.
Right. So I have a feeling Priest will pull it off because those two will beat the crap out of each other. Priest will be like, okay, we'll swoop in and get the pin. So, I don't know. WWE could throw a swerve and throw Jacob in there. I don't know, but yeah. So I'm past the Elimination Chamber already. I'd much rather just get it over with and be done. This is one of the one of the pay-per-views I'm least excited about. Really? We got okay. If I think WWE's gonna do what I've seen they're gonna do, the plans I've talked about that they're going to do the last couple of years are going out the window. I've seen, because you got Logan Paul and John Cena in there. There's rumors those two go at it at Mania. There's rumors of Punk going after Cody. There's rumors of Rollins and Reigns continuing their rivalry. There's so many other things they can do at Elimination Chamber. But then that leaves who the hell is Cody going to go against at Mania? If those stories are going to go the way they are, does Punk win the Elimination Chamber? And then we need Charlotte to make the decision already. I'm sorry, I hate to do it. I like when they build it out, but we already got Jay's. Let's get Charlotte's on Friday, whether she's going after Tiffany or Rhea. I don't think it'll be Rhea, but you just never know.
She's supposed to be on next week's Raw too. Charlotte's they advertised her.
Okay, so we may get a final decision, but let's get the decision from Charlotte done. Let's finish these qualifying matches. Let's see Let's see what the chambers look like. I guess they're gonna throw Cody and Solo on there again. I'm assuming. I don't know what other matches they're gonna put on there. I know it's probably gonna be like a four match card again. Probably. I'm assuming 2 chamber matches that are gonna last a while. Then you got your.
Well, you gotta think the chamber matches themselves might last 30 minutes.
Right. So you got those 2 matches, and then you got Cody going against Solo probably again. Yeah. So that's a match I'm not excited for. I'm just not excited for Elimination Chamber. After watching SmackDown, I'm like, I'm not excited. I was excited for it before SmackDown because we got to see Jey on SmackDown talk to Cody. And then they end it with a Samoan Splash. I'm like, I'm at again? Really? Triple H, I'm sorry, but why? If you want to somehow tell us why, please. But I don't get the decision.
Well, I can give you one reason why it's happening.
You think The Rock has something to do with it?
I absolutely do. He's the whole reason why his daughter is still GM in NXT, despite the fact that she delivers a promo like this, and she has a nasally lispy voice. And she has 0 on-screen presence. She's like, guys, listen,
That's why
I'm like 22 years old, and
that's why she wrestled once and does that. Nope, I'm not.
I'm sorry. I'm sure she's a nice lady, but she has 0 on-screen presence. When 2 amateur podcasters can have more on-screen presence than her,
that's the problem. Is like they could be the nicest person in the world. Like I feel like Baron Corbin's the nicest dude outside. I hated him sometimes. I feel like he's the nicest. I watch some of his videos on TikToks. He makes a whole bunch of food. I'm like, oh, dude, I'd get along great with you. He's a Chiefs fan, haha. But I'm just not excited for Chamber. This is the one pay-per-view I'm just like...
I get it. I do. I understand because we get ourselves into looking so forward to WrestleMania that we get working the plans in our head and we just look past it. We look past little episodes on SmackDown and Raw because we're focused on the bigger picture of Mania, and a lot of times we forget to breathe in the individual moments. We do. I get that. And so Chamber can feel like it's just one big roadblock to the plans of Mania.
I should have just called it Roadblock.
End of the line. But personally, me, I know the Elimination Chamber match gets criticism, and I don't really understand why, but it's one of my favorite match stipulations WWE has.
I'm not saying it's not one of my favorites. I'm just not excited for the pay-per-view. This
year?
Yes.
Okay.
This year. Previous years, I've been excited for it. But, like, I just can't get myself to be like, I'm gonna sit for 4 hours and watch this. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna give myself to do it, but it's gonna be hard for me to sit and watch. I mean, the match, both Elimination Chambers could be a 5-star out of 5 stars. I'd be fine with that. But
they just need to be careful to not let what happened at the Rumble continue to happen because WWE has done a very good job of trimming down their pay-per-views to make them manageable and easily digestible.
Yeah.
They need to be careful not to let what happened at the Rumble happen here. That needs to be a special event reserved for only the top 4.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens Friday.
But as far as SmackDown last week, mixed bag.
Yeah, I was all over the place still. There's still a lot to clean up over on that side. I think we might get a little more clarity Friday. Obviously, Cody and Solo are going to go at it again on Friday, but...
well, and you might not have a new women's champion. You won't, but you at least have a women's championship match on Friday.
Yeah.
And there's the potential for that, which is very strange because we suggested that match. You suggested that match, but you suggested it for the Chamber.
Yeah. like I said, man, this is the one time a year where it's like, obviously, like you said, we look forward to Mania. I guess I need to sit down for a second, relax, and breathe. But it's just my mind is so set for Mania because they've already announced Jay. So it's like, oh, bet what match are we getting next? There's so much we have to clean up. So I'm all over the place with SmackDown right now. I think I might get a better clarity Friday.
And it doesn't help. I'm not sitting here. It's not a SmackDown ragdown show, but
Right.
it doesn't help that your show is now 3 hours. Raw is less than 3 hours.
I know.
It's 2 hours and 30 some minutes. I think it was 2:35, 38 this week.
That's great, but why would you have Rey Mysterio standing there all of a sudden the minute it goes off, you got Rey getting attacked?
By the New Day.
Like, okay, that's something we want to end off on a cliffhanger, but which makes sense.
Yeah, you want to suck in the viewers for next week, right?
Now, I don't know. I'm probably giving this one 6 out of 10. You're right. 3 hours is a long time for a wrestling show if you don't do it right. Raw was doing it right there for years, and then finally towards the end of it, it's like Raw is on for too long. Like 3 hours is such a long time. 2.5 hours is good. You're about 2:30 is where you guys are at. So.
Well, and you and I talked about this even off the podcast. Is that SmackDown had the roster of a 2-hour show. Mm-hmm. So when they were extended to 3 hours, I feel like that's the whole reason they had the transfer portal anyway, was just so they can give all of Raw's superstars to SmackDown so they had enough people to fill out a 3-hour show.
Yep. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'll get some more clarity Friday. I think I'm just in the WrestleMania moment. I think I'm excited for Mania because I think it could be one of the best ones. I'm not saying last year's wasn't great. I'm not saying previous years haven't been great. I'm saying this could be one of the better ones. But obviously last year, I don't think anything could beat last year. You had the main event night one of the tag match with Cody and Seth versus Roman and Rock, and then night two tribal combat. Those two matches hands down. But
Triple H has done a very good job the last couple of years of successfully building a WrestleMania card worth watching.
Yes, and he even plans it pretty much the next day. He's like, all right, bet I have an idea of what I want next year. He already has that mindset of going forward. But like I said, I think I got to get some things cleared up on Friday. I might be better next week on SmackDown. I might have a better mindset on it, but I think what really killed it was the minute Solo came out. I was like,
I think that cast a dark overshadow cloud over the whole episode. And when it's the last thing that you leave off on, we're not even talking about the fact that the main event was enjoyable enough.
Yeah.
In the main event tag match. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the matches themselves were fine, but
when you have Solo coming out at the end, it just casts, we're doing this again, kind of energy.
I was sitting there, I was like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden I was like, what the heck? And all of a sudden I was like, oh, he's got the finger up, he's got the thumb up. I was like,
we're doing this.
I know where we're
Seriously?
going. Seriously.
But we talked a little bit about Raw earlier in the show. That was the biggest headline of the week, was Jey had finally made his decision. Good to see that. I'm glad he opened the show, and I'm glad we got business going forward, because you can give Jey that direction. He doesn't have to be, I wonder who I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's worked his tail off for forever. It would make sense that he said in the promo, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but me at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Almost like, have I made a decision that I'm going to regret? But I'm glad that we've now got a story that we're working towards for WrestleMania. It's good to see, and Jey deserves it, as been said. A lot of the show was built towards Elimination Chamber. Punk had a promo, and he had a small interaction with Logan Paul towards the end of the show. I love it that Michael on commentary is trying to play devil's advocate, because throughout the match, he said the statement over and over, "Boo 'em all you want, folks. Logan Paul is the real deal." he said little comments like that to that effect.
Right.
Saying, yes, you can hate them. You can hate him, being Logan Paul, but he's taken to this business like a fish into water.
Yeah.
Which is, it's true, but when your face of WWE is trying to justify one of the biggest heels in your business, I don't like that look. Because people don't just hate Logan because he is someone who is an outsider into WWE. We've had people who are outsiders coming to WWE and been good wrestlers, and the fans have taken to them.
Mm-hmm.
We're angry at her now, but there for a time when she came in, Rousey came in and was someone who took to WWE fairly well. And then it turned sour. You may feel differently, but the majority of us were happy to see her. You can't look at me and say that her and Angle versus Steph and Triple H wasn't a fun match to sit through.
If you were gonna have anybody, you should have had The Rock, and because they had the interaction at 31.
Mania, yeah.
So that's my take on it. But
For what it turned out to be, I think it was a good debut.
It was fine. It was fine. She had the ring rust come off, and her and Triple H had the interaction, the intergender match kind of stuff. So it was fine.
I guess I'm talking to the wrong guy here.
Not a fan of her. I was just not a fan of her in WWE. At first, it was like, okay, cool. Like I could see it, but then
it turned sour. I'm not saying that it didn't turn sour, and Logan has every opportunity to make things get worse than they are right now. But I would say that he's the guy that people's attitude on him hasn't changed. It's looked like this. I hate that you're here, but I respect you for the work that you've put in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the attitude. But because he's an outsider, people already are going to be kind of against him.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the fact that the guy has scummy business practices and general life scummery as it is.
Yep.
It's not just the fact that he's an outsider. He's also got personal problems. So, not to say that there aren't people in WWE who could probably say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to hear Michael Cole on commentary try to back Logan Paul didn't feel right to me. It felt like WWE trying to justify the fact that they had Logan Paul in the main event of Monday Night Raw. And I'm sorry, but Michael Cole wouldn't do that for someone like Roman Reigns. When he was in his top heel tribal chief mode, he wouldn't do that.
No.
Just because Logan Paul is this megastar outside of WWE, they feel like they have to. I'm sorry, treat him like he's any person on the roster.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I don't have any disagreements with you on that. I mean, I understand why he's there. I mean, I said it last week. He's a solid competitor.
Yeah.
The stuff he's done outside of WWE is unacceptable, and I don't appreciate that, and I wish it was not in the business, but here we are, and okay, yeah, people change, but Logan Paul's not changed. He's the same guy. He always will be. He's a scumbag, like you said. He is exactly what we don't want, and for them to keep giving him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, it doesn't make sense, but also does because it gets people talking, and it gets people like, oh shit, WWE's got Logan Paul involved. Let's watch it. So it gets the fans involved. So I get Logan Paul's actual fans. It makes sense, but who knows?
It was interesting to see the interaction, and WWE over the years has been a product that is business for the business, best for the business. So people working with Logan Paul just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee there's people in the WWE locker room who probably look at Logan Paul and gag. Not because he doesn't put the work in. Again, we've established the guy is intending to do pro wrestling and does it well.
Mm-hmm.
Well enough, I should say. But I bet you there's people in the WWE locker room who look at him and they just get sick.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's a megastar, because he does numbers, because he's a big deal, you swallow your pride and you work with him.
Absolutely.
I'd argue to say that Rey Mysterio is probably one of those guys, a genuine human being, despite the fact that the interaction where he might have killed that guy. But
Allegedly.
Yeah, it was whiplash. It wasn't his fault, But a stand-up guy, he's got to work with him in the main event, and anytime those two get together, it's good. It's only been the second time it's ever happened, but the previous U.S. title match that they had was a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, I guarantee people were saying, well, that's because Rey Mysterio is one of the best. We get it. He's one of the best. But Logan Paul has put the work in, too. So I will give him his credit. And more so to the point, one of the comments that Michael said about Logan Paul in backing him was after Rey Mysterio was going for a 619 attempt, and Paul reverses out of it, just gets up, big boots Rey Mysterio, and that got Michael Cole all hyped up, and he said, "Boo this man all you want, but he's the real deal." And I'm like, is this 2011 heel Michael Cole that we've got here?
Kind of.
All he did was just big boot Rey Mysterio. That wasn't that impressive. It wasn't after the C4 fall away slam that Logan Paul did. I'm sure there's a typical name for it, but the avalanche fall away slam, the follow through fall away slam, wasn't even after a big move like that. It was a big boot.
Sometimes a big boot does it for you, though.
Yeah, apparently so. It's caused Michael Cole to prematurely yeet.
He was yeeting all over himself.
Yeah. So here you go. The new moniker that we're gonna ascribe to Logan Paul is Main Event Logan Paul, huh?
No. And unfortunately, it's true because he's had more main events than I can count. I think. It's like, that kid keeps getting championship match after championship match, and it's sad. I don't get it.
But with that said, if he gets into a position where we want to see the babyface take him down, that's a good storyline.
Yeah.
And I look forward to any opportunity that he gets his comeuppance. And if we ever get in the chamber and it's Punk and Logan Paul, it'd be pretty cool to see because Punk's the kind of guy that don't take no L's.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm ready for Elimination Chamber to be done, but I'm ready for the matches themselves because I do think there's a lot of story you can tell with the men's because you got Cena, Rollins, or you got Cena, Punk, Paul.
I think Rollins is gonna win next week.
Yeah,
Balor's got nothing for him, and even his new theme song sucks balls. So,
well, at least one thing that came out of the Rumble, we got AJ's theme song back.
That's true.
So,
yeah. And I quote, Elijah said next to me, "Who the hell is that?" when Finn Balor came out, he didn't look at the billboard, and even the billboard said F star. So Elijah didn't put two and two together, and he's like, "Who the hell is that?" And I think the crowd, every single person in attendance, was like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah. But it's just you've got so many stories you can tell with that match. You can do a Logan and Cena. You can do a Logan and Punk. You can do a Punk Rollins. You can do Cena Rollins. You can do Cena Cody. You can do Drew versus Cody. I don't know what they're gonna do.
But there's plenty of options. Is Connor's point? There's plenty of options, and Raw has done a very good job with their stars of illustrating the options that there is to have.
Mm-hmm.
As illustrated by something as simple as a women's tag match. I will say this right now, and I don't know how closely attention you paid to Raw last night, but that was my favorite match on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from a guy I love Liv. Raquel, I can take her or leave her. I love Damage Control. But anytime that I see a women's tag match on screen, I actively feel the fast forward button in my stomach.
Uh-huh.
Because WWE has done nothing over the past 6 years to give me any semblance of care. The last time that I cared about the women's tag team titles was when Damage Control was fighting for it when they first came back in 2022. And even then, Triple H decided not have them win and have, I don't even remember who else won it at that point. But it just tells you the point that
these titles are irrelevant.
Yeah, anyway, the team that makes the most sense to win it, and then you don't. But with that said, a division that Triple H has done his very best to make me not care about puts on a match that was my favorite on the show. And I think that is a testament more so to the two main characters in the match of Io and Liv. After their stellar performance in the Rumble, they are the top two title contenders on Raw for the championship. It's a match where we saw big moves and we saw blood. Liv bled.
I know. It's again, as I said it at the beginning, there's been more blood in recent weeks than there has been in years in WWE. Now, did she legitimately get busted open?
Probably.
But it's still nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still one of those nice things to see.
It adds quite literally color to your match, and it makes you feel like the battle was earned. I'm not of the AEW mind, and obviously I don't watch it as often as I do WWE, but when you have a guy like Mox, who, credit to himself, one of the best to do it right now. He's really good, and he's earned everything that he's been given. He's a great wrestler, great character. But when he bleeds every other match, doesn't mean as much.
Yeah.
If you think of it as a cinematic technique, if you do something over and over and over and over again in your movie, people get tired of it, and it means less. Same way with WWE. We haven't seen the blood in so long that when we do see it, it becomes a big deal. Kevin Owens on the Royal Rumble ladder match.
Yeah.
That made that match so much more vicious, so much more chaotic, because Kevin Owens looked like he had just been murdered.
Pretty much did.
Liv, Raquel, Judgment Day versus Damage Control. They pulled out big moves, including what was a top rope lung blower. Michael Cole called it the Oblivion, but I don't think that it was Oblivion. It looked like she got more of her knees involved than anything. But still, an epic move, really. To pull out moves like that, and then Liv Morgan did her Oblivion finisher and still didn't win. Big moves that were pulled out, high jumps, moonsaults, and blood. It gave me a match that I was thoroughly excited to watch and sit through.
Oh yeah, I think Raw overall was pretty solid. I think we're bringing up Jey again. Jey and Gunther already set up is good for WWE. Again, you've got Bayley versus whoever. That match was whatever. Bayley deserved to win. I think overall, it was pretty solid. You guys did a pretty solid show this week.
Yeah, AJ coming back added to that as well in front of AJ, Nashville, the TNA crowd.
Yeah.
Am I happy the direction that he's going right now? No, but I get it because Dominic's consistently gets the biggest reaction on the show, and if you want a ready-made feud of people to care for AJ Styles, you put him against probably the most hated guy on the roster.
Yeah.
It's a surefire. It's not going to be a great match, but it's going to be a good way to get us reinvested into AJ's character.
Oh, yeah. Especially since he's coming back from something that was supposed to be just the career-ending injury.
Yeah. Something so devastating that he needs an easy win when he comes back. And Dominic's, to his credit, he's somebody that you can just throw in as a filler match, get a lot of reaction from it, and move on. Doesn't have to be a big old story.
Right. Just
now,
a quick filler match.
After that filler match, the story that I alluded to last week looks like the Mania feud and Mania direction we might be headed, which is Styles versus Breaker.
Yeah, and I kind of figured we would go that route. I still think it's early, but you could throw Penta in that because Penta kind of had a little thing with Braun. But I don't.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either because we can't have too many triple threats and stipulation matches at Mania because it just ruins the card. Honestly,
I like your tag team idea. I'm coming around to it because especially as we were talking about some of the potential releases on the AEW side, I think they're gearing up towards the Malachi Black return, and it would be I don't know how it would work because it wouldn't be that they're equals. It would be more so Chad is calling upon dark forces to help him, and it could be him and Black versus Penta and Ray.
Yeah. I mean, we'll just have to see. It's because, like I said, they could be coming the Raw after Mania, but who knows? We still have 10 weeks.
Yeah, there's plenty of time, and that's not even to say how the New Day and Rey Mysterio storyline will come up. That could even be your tag match for Mania? Is they beat up and Dragon Lee's like, oh, I'm the Speed Champion, so I don't care enough. And Penta comes in, I'm gonna fight for your honor because Dragon Lee doesn't exist.
Because we need Speed Champions.
Yeah, I don't know what that's gonna be like. Maybe Penta will decide to step in and help Mysterio, and then he'll tag with him at WrestleMania, and then that'll create a jealousy feud between Lee and Penta, something like that. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but there's still a few things to work out for us here on Raw.
Yeah,
in the road to WrestleMania, but the fact that we've got our potential IC championship. We got a women's championship announced, which I thought that was going to be the WrestleMania feud. If I was perfectly honest, I thought Io versus Ripley would be the Mania feud, but we're already having it this soon.
Yeah, again, that's why Elimination Chamber is so crucial. That's why Charlotte's decision is so crucial.
Yeah,
because then it clears up Elimination Chamber, and then we get the final whoever left in that match. It's like.
It would certainly be very hurtful and detrimental to that championship match between Ripley and Sky if Charlotte comes next week and announces that she's facing Ripley.
I don't think we're getting that route. I think we're getting the Tiffany and Charlotte match. I just think we will.
Makes the most sense.
Yeah, it makes the most sense out of everything because if you really want, if USA wants Charlotte, USA is going to get Charlotte. Netflix doesn't need Charlotte.
It's true.
So there you go. That's my take on Charlotte's decision. I still think there's that possibility, but I think it's still going to be Tiffany versus Charlotte.
That makes me sad because what I don't want, and we don't know everything that's involved since she's just come back, but I don't want Bliss to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
With all of that.
Are they going to have her win the Chamber?
I don't know.
I mean, that'll kind of answer itself after the Chamber because then we got Rio and Io, and are they going to do a triple threat? Are they just going to do a basic match? Because like I said, there's so many opportunities for a lot of triple threat matches. But
that would be out of nowhere,
right?
Having Bliss win the Chamber, that's an easy way to move her to Raw at that point. But why have her move to SmackDown if you're immediately then going to have her go over to Raw?
I don't know. You saw on SmackDown that there was little glitches in the screen, so I mean, could get a little white 6 action coming here soon.
It just makes sense that she would be on SmackDown to have that storyline involved.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's winning the Chamber, but that just leaves plenty of room.
Oh yeah,
to determine what's gonna go forward on the women's division. There, it looks like our Intercontinental Championship match is set for the women's division. It's gonna be Ivy Nile versus Lyra. That's probably going to make nowhere near the WrestleMania card, but it's a match that's going forward.
Yeah.
As far as Mania, we got our world title feud. We've got sprinkles and hints of matches that are going to happen on the show, and looking like sometime in the near future it'll be AJ versus Breakker, and somehow, some way, I feel like you got to make that a Mania match. You do. I know we've got plenty of time until that happens.
Yeah.
And WWE might be dragging their feet a little bit.
They normally do around this time.
Well, you think about it. You've got all these storylines that you have to try to make work.
I know.
It's in your best interest to plan a little here, plant a little here, plant a little
And
there.
that's what they've done. Like that's why the road to WrestleMania is so important, because we just speculate. We don't know what they actually have planned.
Yeah.
We're not in Triple H's head, but like, oh hey, guess what? This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. Obviously, yeah, we know one match is happening, but they've sprinkled at other matches. So I don't know. I'm just excited. This is one of the best times to be a fan because it's just exciting. You just love this time.
But I don't want us to get too far down the line
Right.
of where we've sprinkled so much and spread ourselves so thin that our directions aren't clear. That is the danger of Mania season.
Yep.
Because you tease so many matches and you get people speculating. That's a good thing, but only for so long.
Yep.
You have to rein it in. It's not like throughout the year where you can sprinkle a little here, sprinkle a little there, sprinkle. It doesn't mean as much.
No. Now they're sprinkling it in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
10-week span. They have to fill out all these gaps. So then
It's
you have
not
to,
like you can wait for 2 to 3 months to sprinkle a little here and then let that pay off at Survivor Series or SummerSlam. No, you've got 10 weeks to determine what you're going to do. So it'll be very interesting to see where everything goes forward.
It's going to be an exciting 10 weeks of fun, We're going to have a lot to talk about here, guys.
Only the second weekend, and we've got our first WrestleMania match announced. Main event, and this time, I mean it, we mean it. Main event, Jey Uso versus the Ring General Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. The first match announced. Your Royal Rumble winner versus the World Heavyweight Championship.
It's time.
And maybe, just maybe, this is the road to finally making the World Heavyweight Championship feel on par with the WWE title.
I agree.
Because since Rollins has lost the belt, it has not felt like that.
Priest run wasn't bad.
No,
but
he did not feel on the level of Cody Rhodes.
No, not even close.
Because they treated him like Rollins in 2015, where he was a guy who was capable of holding the belt, but every time he won, it was through outside forces.
Yep.
And so he felt very hollow as champ. Yep. And Gunther's reign, he's a great wrestler, but his character work has been left to be desired.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because he was doing some great character work with the IC title belt, but it turned into just him being a great wrestler. And as a world title feud, I guess that's all you need. When your champion is this unbeatable mountain and you have to have other wrestlers who have done the character work to try to just overconquer him. Which in this case works out really well because Gunther is going to give everything he has to try and make sure that Jey Uso is squashed out, never to be main event ever again. So tell me, guys, we asked the question for next week. Favorite wrestler to root for on Mania season? One guy who you backed everything behind in his storyline. Whether that is just regular singles match, whether that is a multi-man ladder match, whether that's the world title program, what's the one person who had plans for Mania that was in doubt that you pushed forward? I'm going to give mine a sneak peek right now. WrestleMania 32, Dallas, Texas, involving a certain ladder match. That's your sneak peek for next week. One guy, one woman, whose road to WrestleMania you were completely behind. You were completely invested in the journey. And that can look like things such as Kofi Mania. That can look like the Yes Movement. Whatever it is, one person's road to WrestleMania you were completely invested behind, even if nobody else was. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, comments, final moments that you want to leave the viewers with, Connor?
I SmackDown's gonna have to do some major turning of my head on Friday because there's gonna be a lot of questions. So, but overall, I think we're in a good spot. I think we're doing really well with where we're going towards Mania. Um, Chamber may be. It may be have two solid chamber matches. It may be a total dud of a pay per view. We don't know. But here in the next couple weeks, we'll know more. And then we can kind of start seeing some pictures of what Mania could look like.
I'm excited, and I
But
know you are too.
dude, I'm ready for Mania. I'm ready for. I said it earlier. I'm ready for Chamber to be done, just so we get Mania going, and because this is one of the best times in Mania season. So
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Let us know, who are you backing this Mania season, and who have you backed in Mania seasons past? Comment and ask us below. Until next time, this has been the KTE Wrestling Podcast.